Hi there. I hope you're having a great time in the class. We are up to chapter 12. So we're going to start talking about long-term liabilities. So working our way through the balance sheet, we are over to liabilities and we're past current to long-term. So this is class 32A in the Monday, Wednesday, Friday class, and 23A on the Tuesday, Thursday class. So we're going to talk a little bit more about long-term liabilities. You already know about these, but we're just going to go into a little bit of detail here. Alright, so the first thing we need to talk about are, kind of what they are. Long-term liabilities are liabilities that do not need to be paid within 1 year, or within the entity's operating cycle, whichever is longer. Both long-term notes payable and mortgages payable are common long-term liabilities. Long-term notes payable are typically reported in the long-term liabilities section of the balance sheet. So, important thing to remember here is not due within the next year. Okay? So that's what makes it long-term. It's further away than 1 year. Recall that most long-term notes payable are paid in installments. The current portion of notes payable is the principal amount that will be paid within 1 year. A current liability is paid within 1 year. The remaining portion is long-term. For example, TuTh Learning signed a $20,000 note payable on December 31, 2016. The note will be paid over 4 years with payments of $5,000 plus 6% interest each December 31st, right? Beginning December 31, 2017. Remember that the current portion of the note, the amount due December 31, 2017, that $5,000 is considered a current liability on December 31, 2016. So the entry will require a debit to cash for $20,000 and a credit to notes payable for $20,000. So this is putting it on the books. Cash came in, so of course that's a debit. Notes payable is a liability, $20,000. Now, on December 31, 2017, TuTh Learning will make a $5,000 principal payment plus interest, right? So they're going to owe that money on December 31st. An amortization schedule is a schedule that details each loan payment's allocation between principal and interest and the beginning and ending loan balances. TuTh Learning will calculate interest expense as beginning balance times the interest rate times the time. The total cash payment is the principal payment plus interest. So this should look pretty familiar. Principal times rate times time. How you calculate interest. Should not feel weird at all. Now, on page 598, Exhibit 12-1 shows an amortization schedule, looks like this, for the note payable. Alright, so this is just scheduling the payments and the interest. So as you can see, it starts out with $20,000, the principal payment is $5,000, the interest, principal times rate times time, so that's principal is the $20,000. So there we get our total payment is $5,000 plus interest. Our new ending balance on principal becomes $15,000. Next year, we're calculating our interest on our new principal balance, right? So that's why we do these amortization schedules, so you can calculate your new interest for each new principal balance as you make payments towards reducing that principal. And that's what a typical amortization schedule looks like. Breaks out when you're going to pay it, how much of the payment is principal, how much of the payment is interest. That's all a schedule is the date and what's happening on that date. Alright, so to record the notes payable payment, Let's assume it is now December 31, 2017, and Smart Touch Learning must make its first installment payment of $5,000 principal plus interest on the note. The entry requires a debit to notes payable for $5,000, a debit to interest expense for $1,200, and a credit to cash for $6,200. So when they actually make that payment, the note payable is what's getting reduced. The principal gets reduced by $5,000, interest expense $1,200, and of course they have to pay for it. And when you pay for things, you pay with cash. So you add it up, and there it is. After the December 31st, 2017 entry, Smart Touch Learning owes $15,000. That's the $20,000 original note minus the $5,000. Principal paid on December 31, 2017. The company will record similar entries for the 3 remaining payments using the amounts calculated in the amortization schedule. So they're just going to make that a similar payment every year. Now the interest is going to go down because the principal keeps going down. But it's going to look the same. It's just be according to this schedule here. Right? That'll be the payment amounts. All right, let's talk about mortgages. Mortgages payable include the borrower's legal promise to transfer the legal title to specific assets if the mortgage isn't paid on schedule. Mortgages payable are very similar to long-term notes payable. The main difference is the mortgages payable are secured with specific assets, whereas long-term notes are not secured with specific assets. Like long-term notes, the total mortgages payable amount has a portion due within 1 year, current, and a portion that is due more than 1 year from a specific date. Commonly, mortgages specify a monthly payment of principal and interest to the lender, usually a bank. The most common type of mortgage is on property. For example, a mortgage on your home. So a mortgage is simply a kind of a note that has what we call collateral. You put up your building or your machine or something for collateral, so that it becomes a mortgage. And typically mortgages are paid monthly, right? Think about a house payment. You pay that mortgage payment monthly. So let's look at journalizing them. Assume that on December 31st, 2016, Smart Touch Learning purchases a building for $150,000. They pay $49,925 in cash and sign a 30-year mortgage for $100,075, taken out at 6% interest, that is payable in $600 monthly payments, which include principal and interest beginning January 31st, 2017. So here's the journal entry for buying the building, right? So you got building, $150,000, mortgage payable, $100,075, cash, $49,925. So that's the purchase, right? And there is a loan that they're going to have to start paying back, and we call it the mortgage loan. Now, here's an amortization schedule. Just like what we saw before, it shows the payment dates and how much of each payment goes to principal and interest. Now, don't freak out. You're not going to have to do any big old thing like this. I would expect you to be able to journalize payments and certainly purchases like we just saw. But so here's just a part of it, right? Because if it's 30 years or 20 years, obviously these monthly amortization schedules are very big. And if you've ever seen one, you know they go on for pages. Like when somebody buys a house, they usually are given an amortization schedule. And it just shows this is the date the payment's due, here's how much of that payment goes to principal, and here's how much of that payment goes to interest, just like it says, payment schedule. And this is what they look like. We can confirm the interest calculations provided in the amortization table. The first payment on the interest is calculated as $100,075 times 6% times 1/12, right? Principal times the rate times the time, which is 1 month, or $500.38. The principal of $99.62 is the difference between the monthly payment of $600 and the interest expense of $538. The $99.62 reduces mortgage payable from $100,075 to $99,975.38. So if you look here, each time a payment gets made, it reduces that ending balance again. Right? So just like we saw on the other schedule. But with this mortgage, a whole lot more of the payment is going to interest, so it takes a long time to reduce that principal down. All right, so there you go. We're making a payment, right? So it's mortgage payable and interest expense and of course cash. You pay with cash. So every payment will look like this, but the amount will change a little bit because every mortgage payment will pay a little less interest and a little more to principal because every payment reduces the principal. As the principal reduces, the interest reduces. All right. Each mortgage payment will be recorded in a similar journal entry using the amortization schedule amounts. Now in this class, we will not calculate an amortization schedule. We will need to be able to journalize and post payment entries separating interest expense and principal reduction. So you need to be able to do a transaction like this. Right? So if on a test I would say, you have this mortgage, you took out a mortgage for this much, well, you need to be able to do this transaction here. And then I say you make a payment on that mortgage, and then I would tell you how much the interest and principal is, and you would have to be able to post it like this. But I won't say do an amortization schedule for the first 12 months of the mortgage or anything like that. Nothing like that. All right, so we're going to stop here, and the next video will be the second part of the chapter, the next part of the chapter. Okay, see you in a minute.